Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to be doing a video on the Manley VOXBOX because this plugin by Universal Audio kind of blew my mind. And the funny thing about it is I've had this bundle, like I bought the bundle, a year and a half ago. And like many of us, when you're trying to make stuff sound good, like your mixes on your music, you can go crazy buying stuff that you don't need. But this isn't one of those purchases, but I spent a lot of money on stuff that I really haven't used. Why? I don't know. A lot of the times I use Waves plugins, and just to be honest, like they're not really comparable. I don't think they're in the same league. I've been using those for like 5-6 years now. And I think they're really great, and I still use them all the time. But Universal Audio, their plugins and their emulations of preamps, compressors like the 1176, the Avalon, the Manley VOXBOX, whatever, Fairchild, the Neves. I mean, they are so good and so close to the actual hardware that it's kind of mind-blowing. So I wanted to test some of these out. So what I did was I wrote this song and I just recorded a live take where it's just an acoustic guitar and my vocals. And I feel like that will give you guys the best sense of what this particular plugin sounds like. So let's jump right into Logic and I'll show you what I did to it. All right, so we're in Logic. I guess the first thing you should do is just listen to this with nothing on it. This is the guitar track. It does have an EQ, compressor, whatever on it, but we're going to be focusing more on the vocal take. But this is how it sounds like, and then what I'll do is I'll mute out the guitar part and I'll reintroduce it so you can hear what it sounds like with the plugin.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. So far from the people you'd see, so when you let them go, after that you'll grow.
Okay, so that's the gist of it. It's just a hook of a song I wrote. But what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the Manley. And I think what we should do first is go to the default settings here. And then we'll just tweak something based on my vocal take. I'm also just going to solo out the vocals. You will hear bleed since I recorded this with 2 mics from the guitar. But whatever, it is what it is. Now, something to keep in mind, if your voice is like very thick, that might not be suitable for this particular plugin. My voice is quite nasally, so what this plugin does is adds that sort of tube sound, and it thickens up my vocal, which I really like because otherwise it sounds very thin. So let's just go over some of the parameters, I guess. Right here you have a roll-off, a 80 or 120 hertz roll-off. I already tracked the vocal coming in, rolling off some of it, so I'm not going to use that at all. You also have a polarity switch right here, 0 and 180. So the 180 is just flipping the polarity so that if you had something out of phase, that could correct a problem like that. You do have your input, and over here is going to be the output, and this actually feeds into the compressor. So if you increase the input, you're going to compress more of the signal. Obviously, that's just how this particular compressor works on the VOXBOX. You also have this gain parameter right here that goes from 40 to 60, incrementally going up by 5, and it more so changes the tone to me than anything else. Over here you have your attack, and I was reading up on this. This is not actually the fastest compressor. So if you're looking to really grab the vocal right away, you might want to look into like the 1176 or something like that that has a really fast attack. This does not, but what it does do is it creates a really natural and smooth effect. So what I'm going to do is put this to fast, and I'll put the release to medium fast. So right here you have the compressor. This is a fixed 3:1 ratio, and then you have the threshold right here, and you can see the gain reduction happening over here. Now 3:1 is usually what people use on their vocals, but other people use higher ratios. It really is up to your preference. You also have a de-esser up here built into it. This is really cool. You can kind of choose the frequencies, and then you have a 10:1 limiter over here. So you can flip that on. We'll keep that on. What I found for my own vocals is it's usually around 5500. That gets kind of harsh, so I'll put it to 6K, and that usually works pretty good for me. And then you can adjust the threshold right here. Like I said, you have the output over here on the right, and you have the input, and the compressor is based on this, so you really do have to tweak this just so. to get a good sound and a good level coming in and out. But the good thing is, from the default setting, it's not really messing with anything too much, so you can really build everything based off the default setting, which is what we're going to do in a second. Over here, I was also reading up on this. This is based on the Pultec EQ, which is a very famous EQ. I actually use it. I also have the Universal Audio one of that. I don't have any hardware, by the way. It's really just the Apollo interface, and then emulations is what I use for the most part. So you have an option to bypass right here, but we're going to keep this engaged, and you are adding right here, you're adding right here, but in the middle you're dipping. So you can see the -10, and this is +10, +10. So you're adding. Over here you're subtracting. And a lot of times I found with my particular vocal around 200, I'm going to switch this to 200 because that's where it gets really muddy for me, like 200 to 250. But it can be different for other people, so just bring in a different EQ, change the Q, and then drag it all the way up in terms of the gain, and sort of sweep the frequencies and see what's muddy for you. Might be different, so everybody's voice is different. Now over here on the left, I'm really not going to be adding much of this back in, maybe around 100 or 150, just to give it a little bit of fullness and low end. But in terms of like the mid-range, I'm not going to crank the mid-range crazy because I'm using a mic. I use a TLM 103, and I feel like that has a pretty present sound and good mid-range, so I don't think that's really that necessary. So I'm going to leave that around 100, maybe just boost it a little bit. We'll do it by ear. And over here on the right, I usually like a top end sheen, but you can go for really any sound. If you go over to 3K, which I saw on one of the presets, that's a really cool sound too. It can get too harsh if you kind of crank it up. You should really just be loose with it too. Just go to a particular frequency and boost it and see if it sounds cool. Like, you don't really need to focus too much on rules. A lot of people say that 3K is like really harsh if you boost that, but I think that based on a preset I was working with earlier, I thought it sounded really cool. So it's really up to your own ear. What we'll do now is tweak these, and we will go with the EQ first. So let me have you listen again without this first.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. So far from the people you'd see, so when you let them go.
Yeah, so you get the gist of it. Now we're going to turn it on, and we haven't tweaked anything yet, but just listen to it with it on. It actually already adds a little bit of character just running it through this.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know.
Okay, so like I said, let's go to the EQ first, and what we're going to do is, I'm not really going to mess with this right here. I don't think I want to add anything really in the low end right now. Maybe we'll add stuff over here first and see what we think. I'm going to go to like 4K and just boost this and see how it sounds.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. So far from the people you'd see, so when you let them go.
Now without it.
It's not how you want it to be, but...
So by boosting 4K right there, I really like how that sounds. It adds a lot of presence, but more so like character. It just sounds different. It sounds analog, which is what I really like and what I usually try to go for, is like an analog sound. Now let's go to the dip, the 200. I'm not going to go crazy with this because I think that if you go too crazy, and I'll actually show you in a second, then you can really thin out the vocal. And trust me, I have a thin vocal anyway. That's not what I'm trying to do.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. So
see, even when I go to like right here, it's thinning out the vocal quite a bit. So I'm gonna go like right here, and I feel like that's a pretty balanced sound right there.
it's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know.
And since that's a little bit thin, maybe we'll go to like 150 and we'll just boost a little bit there, and that'll add a little bit of bottom end. Actually, let's go back to 100. I like that, so let's do that.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. so far from the people you'd see. So when you let them go.
So just the EQ section, let's listen to that, and then let's listen without it.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. So far from the people you'd see. So
Now engaged.
it's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know.
So you can see it sounds 10 times better. There's a lot of analog character, and it takes my thin voice to sound really full, which I was singing it pretty loud, but when you do recordings and it sounds thin like that, it can almost just sound like a weak vocal. It's good to add stuff like this back in to really give you the feel like you're in the room. Now over here, I actually think I had this engaged, and I had it at about right here, and that sounded pretty good to me, but you can just dial this back and see what sounds good to you for the de-esser. Okay, we're going to go over this left side, and we're going to mess with this gain real quick and just see if we can get a little more tone out of it. And this is going to boost it like 5 dB, but you can kind of dial it back, but I do think it does change the tone. So let's just listen.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. So far from the people you'd see. So when you let them go.
So now that I have a little more gain coming in, I'm going to compress, and I like how that sounds. I mean, we usually perceive things as when they're louder, they sound better, but that's not always the case, but in this case, I think that is true. But we're going to dial this threshold back a little bit, and we're going to try to knock off some gain here because it is a little loud.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. So far from the people you'd see. So when you let them go, after that you'll grow.
So we're right around 3 dB of gain reduction, and like I said before, you do need to be very careful. With this input gain, I just dialed that back a little bit because, like I said, whatever's coming in is running straight into this compressor in the VOXBOX, so you do need to be careful. If you have this cranked up, this could just wham back to like 10, you know, and you don't want to over compress a vocal because I think it sounds really bad. So what we'll do now is we're going to mix the guitar back in, we're going to reintroduce it and then sort of blend it back in. I like how the vocal sounds right now, so we're going to leave it at that.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know. So far from the people you'd see. So when you let them go, after that you'll grow.
Yeah, so I really like how that sounds together. Let me give you a picture without it.
It's not how you want it to be, but you're getting really close. I'm happy that you know.
I mean, a pretty dramatic drop off. So my overall thoughts of the Manley VOXBOX, I personally love it. Other people have negative things to say about it, but that might be based on their own voice. And I think you guys should take what I say with a grain of salt. Do you need to buy this? Absolutely not. I'm the type of person that buys stuff thinking they need things and then realize that I don't. I remember buying a bunch of effects and stuff like that, and I would just slap them on projects and think to myself, that's what I needed, just to realize that everything is actually just mixing with faders, using EQ and compression. So if you stick to that and get really good at those few things, you're going to be able to do, 85-90% of the mix just with that. And then you can add certain things after the fact. And if you want to get a preamp like this, you can do that and really add that analog sound. But I do really like the Manley VOXBOX. This is an awesome plugin. I think Universal Audio makes superior plugins and really great emulation. So if you guys are in the market for something like this and you have a voice kind of like mine that's like nasally and you need to add that tube sound and that thickness to it, I think this would be a really great option. And you can also throw this on other things other than vocals too, and it can give it a really cool sound. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. We'll be doing more stuff like this. And like I said, I bought this whole bundle. I feel like I should just do a series of universal audio plugins. So if you do want me to do that, then like this video. All right, and until next time, guys, I'll see you later.